Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson.
Okay, so state services actually played a huge part in everything that I'm doing.
Don't be afraid. Get out there, meet people, be friendly. Nobody is judging you.
Think big. Look at what do you love to do, what do you enjoy doing, and then how can you turn that into getting paid?
I use my Braille display, I use JAWS.
Put on your cape, grab your gladiator shield, and go get 'em, Tiger.
Don't limit yourself.
Career Expo 2019, such a great opportunity for transition age students to meet up with professionals from a wide variety of professions. It was an opportunity for students transitioning from high school to college to the workplace to ask questions from nearly 25 professionals. What is their job like? What tools they use? And to receive encouragement about the possibilities that they too can achieve their dreams and get the career that they want. Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson. I'm at the Career Expo in Roseville, Minnesota, part of State Services for the Blind. And this is for transition students. And there's a lot of mentors, a lot of role models, people who are employed that are sharing their journeys and just showing that they too can be successful. So I came up to a table to a physical therapist named Alex Loch. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
So what do you do as a physical therapist?
Yeah, so as a physical therapist, generally, if somebody has any kind of body dysfunction, pain, just something that's limiting them from participating in, life or a sport or whatever, they'll come to a physical therapist and we do what's called rehab and just work on either exercise, stretching, soft tissue, kind of muscle bone techniques, and hopefully get them back to doing whatever they want to do.
So this obviously took some schooling.
It did. You have to have an undergrad degree and then it's an additional 3-year doctorate. So for me, it took about 8 years, but if you do it fast, you can take 7 years.
Eight's not bad.
8's not bad, and it's because I had started, my undergrad was in English and dance, so I had quite the amount of prerequisites before I could even apply to a doctorate program.
So how did State Services for the Blind come into play?
They were really helpful in actually participating in the graduate school. So I was not connected with State Services as an undergrad, and then it was per a recommendation from like a disability coordinator when I was getting prereqs done that suggested I get involved with State Services to look into what options I would have for graduate school. And they were instrumental in helping a lot of funding things, kind of connecting with technologies, and it was great.
So highly recommended that people get connected up.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know what you don't know, so they might have something that, is going to be really helpful.
So in your job, being visually impaired, what is that like? How do you overcome that?
I have some functional vision, so I'm able to use a computer if I have large font settings. I can navigate without the use of a cane in familiar situations. So actually, a lot of the time, my patients or colleagues will not be aware of my blindness, and I am sure to tell everybody just so they don't feel like something unusual is happening. So for example, like at the end of every clinic session with a patient, Duluth's not a huge community, so there's a good chance I'm going to run into that person at some point in the community, and my vision will not allow me to see them if they're more than 5 feet in front of me. So I tell everybody at the end of the session, just so you're aware, I'm legally blind. If you're more than 5 feet from me, I'll know there's a person there, but I just won't know who it is. So if you see me on the street, be sure to come up and say hi. Just kind of that thing, so people are sort of aware of it.
Yeah, that can be interesting because my neighbor could be waving to me every morning and I've never waved back.
Right, absolutely. I've heard stories like this in Duluth about people seeing me, waving at me, and feeling like I ignored them. So now I just try to tell everybody I am blind and I'm sorry if I don't wave back.
So what advice would you, or have you been giving to the transitioning students that have been attending?
One, I would say, theme has just been sort of self-advocacy. So if you're in a situation with your professor, I always recommend, if somebody's comfortable in their disability, to approach their professor the first day of class and just let them know the situation. I think you should still be involved with the disability office, but in my experience, the professor having that line of communication with me directly, we've been able to solve a lot of issues sort of on the spot versus retroactively. So that's been super helpful.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because when I was in school, I went to my instructor's office and the first thing he said is, I didn't think you'd ever show up because you're always looking off like you don't really want to be here. And then I explained my visual impairment.
Yes, so that's kind of goes with the more people that know, the better from my perspective.
Well,
to quote Hawthorne, maybe we all should be wearing scarlet letter B's on our chest.
Yes.
How has, we talked a little bit about visual impairment, but in the sense that you can get by with a little bit in certain situations, like myself too. In some instances, I'm the sighted guy amongst a bunch of other people because I have a little bit of peripheral, but in other situations, I'm the blindest guy in a room.
Yeah, I've had that a lot. And so because I normally don't carry a white cane, but then if we're doing advocacy type work or something where I'm with a large group of blind people, I will purposefully bring a white cane because I've been in situations like that where I've been the person without the cane and I'm being looked at sort of misguidedly as like a chaperone or something like that. That is not the situation. So I feel like the cane helps kind of send a message to everybody, like we are all blind people and blindness looks different for everybody, and yeah.
When I had a little bit more sight, bringing the cane with me at the bus stop, because one time I just stowed my cane away in the bus driver. I asked the bus driver, what bus is this? And he says, the number's on the front of the bus. And I was like, okay, so I pulled my cane out, then he said it to me. So that identifier, helping out the situation in social networking.
Yeah, I've had lots of things like that too. We should have like a coffee table book of those stories.
So physical therapy, that's a lot of work sometimes. I'm thinking of massages or, like you said, deep tissue or something of that nature. It is physical work.
You know, it certainly can be physical work. I guess I'm young enough in my career and I've heard enough stories where I'm pretty mindful of my body and keeping it healthy. So I'm not really willing, for example, I'll work with people in the hospital and it's even just like the labor of getting from sitting to standing can be unbelievable for people. It's like you are literally lifting them up. I'm in a situation where I'm willing to put in so much work, but then the patient's got to kind of meet me halfway with the amount of work they're willing to put in. And then I go to the gym every day, so I stay active, and I think that counteracts any sort of negative things that are going on at work.
Did you have that before you got into this field, or is it something that you developed later on or carried with you?
I think I did have that. Even growing up, I was like a competitive gymnast, and then after that, in college, I took up dance pretty seriously and was doing a lot of performance with that. And so activity has been like an always present thing in my life. So I've just sort of made sure to keep that up going into my professional work.
So what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about joining a gym or getting physically active but is hesitant because they're visually impaired?
I would say do it, and do it now. And sometimes logistics hold people up. How am I going to get to the gym? Am I going to be able to use the equipment? I think do it, try a trial, and then you'll figure it out. I mean, we are so resilient and we've found ways to do so many things that being physically active is not going to be something you're not included in. So do it.
All right, just do it. Sounds good. Well, Alex, I want to thank you for being part of the Career Expo here and sharing your experience and your insightfulness to all the students that came along here.
Happy to be here. Thanks for talking to me.
Be sure to contact your state services for the blind, your voc rehab, and find out what they can do for you. Live, work, read, succeed. A big shout out goes out to Chi Chow for his beautiful music, and you can follow Chi Chow on Twitter at LChichow. Chi Chow. Chi Chow. Enable the blind ability skill on your Amazon device just by saying Enable Blind Abilities.
When we share
what we see through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations and the realities of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.